The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders beyond comprehension, yet it also harbored terrors that even the most advanced civilizations dared not name. Among the whispered fears of the interstellar races, one legend stood above the rest: the Galactic Monsters. No one knew exactly what they were. No one had ever survived an encounter long enough to describe them. Entire fleets had vanished near their domain. Planets lay in ruin wherever their influence spread. And most chilling of all, the greatest empires, races who had conquered the stars and bent lesser species to their will, refused to speak of them, as though even acknowledging their existence might summon them from the void. The Kalari, a species known for their cold logic and tactical supremacy, had mapped nearly every inch of the galaxy. They had fought and won wars against races far older than themselves. Yet, even they had drawn a thick, unwavering red line around the sector where the monsters resided. No Kalari ship was allowed within 100 light-years of its borders. Still, horror stories surfaced. Small, independent scouts who ignored the warnings never returned. On rare occasions, half-mad survivors would drift back into known space, their ships barely functional, their bodies frail, and their minds broken beyond repair. "We weren't meant to see," they would mutter before descending into incomprehensible screams. For centuries, the galaxy had accepted one universal truth: the monsters ruled their domain, and no one was foolish enough to challenge them. Until the humans came. A curious species. The humans were the newcomers to galactic society, but their reputation had already spread far and wide. Unlike other species, they were fearless to the point of recklessness, driven by an insatiable need to explore, to challenge, to understand. The Galactic Monsters, for all their terrifying reputation, were an enigma. And if there was one thing humans couldn't resist, it was a mystery. On the bridge of the Dauntless, a cutting-edge human exploration vessel, Captain Elias folded his arms as he stared at the holographic star map. The red line of no return, imposed by the Kalari, flashed ominously. Around him, his crew murmured with anticipation, some with nervous excitement, others with genuine concern. "They're just stories," said Lieutenant Carter, the ship's xenolinguist. "Myths told to keep civilizations in line. Every empire needs a boogeyman." "And what about the missing fleets?" countered Dr. Lillian Chen, their chief scientist. "The ruined planets? The survivors who came back, broken?" Captain Elias smirked. "That's what we're here to find out." The ship's AI, Vega, chimed in. "Captain, multiple priority messages from the Kalari High Command. They are urging us to turn back immediately." "Let me guess," Elias said, his voice tinged with amusement. "They're claiming it's for our own good?" A brief silence. Then, their exact words were, "Humans, if you value your existence, do not cross the boundary. We will not come to save you." A hush fell over the bridge. The Kalari were not known for dramatics. If they were issuing warnings with such finality, it meant they truly believed the threat was real. Elias turned to his crew, his gaze sharp. "We came here to uncover the truth. If anyone wants out, say so now." No one spoke. He nodded. "Then we press on." As the Dauntless accelerated past the red line, alarms from alien satellites triggered all around them, sending warnings into the void. But it was too late. The humans had entered the domain of the Galactic Monsters. And something was waiting for them. The Dauntless drifted silently through the forbidden sector of space, its sleek hull reflecting the dim glow of distant stars. Every sensor was on high alert, scanning the void for any sign of the so-called Galactic Monsters. Inside the command center, Captain Elias sat in his chair, eyes locked onto the main display. The region ahead was mapped as a dead zone, no signals, no transmissions, nothing but the eerie absence of life. Lieutenant Carter shifted uncomfortably. "It's too quiet." Dr. Chen tapped on her console. "I don't like this. There should be natural cosmic phenomena, radiation bursts, drifting asteroids, something. But it's like this place was scrubbed clean. Elias smirked. And that's what makes it interesting. Vega, the ship's AI, chimed in. Captain, I am detecting residual energy signatures on a planetary body 5 light-years ahead. Strong enough to suggest a past civilization, yet inconsistent with any known species. Elias leaned forward. Set course. Let's see what we're dealing with. The ship's engines hummed as they accelerated toward the distant world. The first signs of something terrible. The planet, designated as VX 981, appeared lifeless. Its surface was a barren wasteland, with deep scars gouged into the crust as if some colossal force had torn it apart. As the Dauntless entered orbit, they got their first real look at what had happened here. Massive structures lay in ruins, their remains stretching across the desolate landscape. Craters, far too precise to be natural, dotted the surface. The wreckage of starships, many of alien origin, littered the ground like discarded bones. Dr. Chen zoomed in on one of the crashed ships. Her breath caught. That's a Kalari battleship. Carter's brow furrowed. Wait, what? The Kalari never mentioned losing any ships here. They claimed they never dared enter this region. Then they lied, Elias muttered. The Kalari, for all their warnings, had clearly tried to breach this sector before. And they had paid the price. Suddenly, Vega's voice cut through the tension. Captain, I am detecting faint distress signals from the wreckage. They appear recent. A chill ran through the crew. Elias stood. Prepare a landing team. We're going down. Landing on a dead world. The shuttle touched down in the shadow of a ruined city. The air was thin but breathable. Elias led the team forward, weapons holstered but ready. Dr. Chen scanned the surroundings while Carter documented the eerie silence. The wind howled through the crumbling buildings, carrying whispers of whatever horror had taken place here. They moved toward the distress beacon, stepping over debris and shattered alien technology. The beacon was embedded in the remains of a Kalari escape pod, its light flickering weakly. Carter knelt beside it. This pod was ejected recently, within the last few weeks. But there's no sign of survivors, Chen murmured. That was when they heard it. A deep, guttural vibration. Not a sound, but something felt, an unnatural tremor rippling through the ground beneath their feet. Elias spun around, weapon drawn. Eyes up. We're not alone. From the shadows of the ruined city, something moved. Massive, hulking shapes, barely visible against the darkness. They were watching. And then, all at once, the dauntless comms erupted in static. Vega's voice crackled through. Captain, ship systems, failing. Unknown, interference. The team looked up as the sky darkened unnaturally. The air grew thick with an invisible pressure, a presence pressing down on them. And then, for the first time, they saw the outline of something colossal shifting within the ruins. The Galactic Monsters were here. The air grew heavy. It wasn't just silence, it was an oppressive stillness, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. The dauntless comms remained garbled, Vega's voice lost in waves of interference. The team stood frozen, weapons drawn, staring into the dark ruins where something massive stirred. Then it moved. A towering silhouette emerged, its form barely distinguishable against the ruined structures. It wasn't entirely solid, its surface seemed to shift, warping like a mirage. Glowing fissures ran along its body, pulsing with an eerie, molten light. It let out a low, reverberating sound that wasn't quite a roar, but something deeper, something that made the ground tremble. Carter took a step back. What the hell is that? Dr. Chen's scanner flickered wildly, struggling to process any data. It's not registering as a life form. More like a... The thing moved again, faster than something of its size should. The ruins trembled as a second figure stepped forward, then a third. They were surrounded. A fight for survival. Back to the shuttle. Elias barked. The team turned to run, but the creatures shifted, blocking their escape. One moved with unnatural fluidity, stepping between the broken structures and cutting off their retreat. Carter raised his rifle. Permission to fire? Negative, Elias snapped. We don't know what we're dealing with. One of the creatures lifted an appendage, something between an arm and a tendril. The air shimmered, and a wave of pressure slammed into the ground. Dust and debris erupted around them. The force sent Carter sprawling, his weapon skidding across the cracked earth. Elias grabbed him by the collar, hauling him up. Move! Dr. Chen, gripping her scanner, pointed toward a gap in the ruins. There. We can lose them in the city. They sprinted. The monsters did not chase, not in the way a predator would. Instead, they moved methodically, shifting through the ruins as if hurting the humans rather than attacking outright. Why aren't they killing us? Carter panted. Elias didn't answer. His focus was on getting his team out alive. Then, suddenly, the creatures stopped. The largest one turned its head, if it even had a head, toward the city center. Its glowing fissures pulsed brighter, as if reacting to something unseen. The others followed suit, stepping away from the humans as if they had lost interest. Elias slowed. They're ignoring us? Dr. Chen hesitated, staring at her scanner. They're not chasing us because we're not the threat. Carter frowned. Then what are they guarding? A deep, resonant hum filled the air. The ruins vibrated. And from the heart of the dead city, a structure lit up, its long dormant systems coming to life. That, Elias murmured. That's what they're protecting. The monsters did not attack. They simply stood as silent sentinels, their attention fixed on the ancient structure now glowing with forgotten power. Something was hidden here. Something ancient. Something important. And humanity had just stumbled into its path. The ruins trembled as the mysterious structure pulsed with an eerie blue light, casting long shadows through the broken cityscape. The dauntless crew stood frozen, their gazes locked onto the colossal figures looming before them. The so-called Galactic Monsters remained motionless, their glowing fissures now pulsing in sync with the awakened structure. Carter gripped his rifle tighter. We need to fall back. Regroup. Call in reinforcements. Elias shook his head. No. They're not attacking. They're waiting. Dr. Chen's scanner flickered as she swept it over the creatures, then back toward the structure. They're reacting to whatever's inside that building. If we leave now, we may never find out what they're guarding. The air crackled, thick with charged energy. Then, without warning, the ruins shifted. Stone slabs groaned, ancient mechanisms grinding to life after what could have been millennia of dormancy. The entrance to the structure, a monolithic archway covered in alien glyphs, suddenly began to part, revealing a descending passage into darkness. Carter muttered, I don't like this. Elias adjusted his helmet, stepping forward. That makes two of us. But we didn't come all this way to turn back. Dr. Chen took a deep breath. Then let's find out what's inside. Descent into the unknown. The interior of the structure was unlike anything they had encountered before. The walls were lined with smooth, metallic surfaces interwoven with crystalline veins that glowed faintly, pulsing as if alive. It felt less like a ruin and more like a hibernating machine. As they moved deeper, the passage widened into an expansive chamber. At its center, a massive circular platform held an artifact, suspended mid-air, slowly rotating, its surface shimmering with unknown symbols. Dr. Chen stepped closer, scanning the artifact. This is advanced. Beyond anything the Galactic Council has ever documented. Elias studied the markings. Looks like some kind of control mechanism. Suddenly, the artifact pulsed, and the air in the chamber thickened. The creatures outside let out a synchronized, guttural hum, a sound that resonated deep in their chests. Then, the walls came alive. The revelation. Holographic images flickered to life around them, displaying towering beings, taller than any known species, their forms regal, their eyes glowing with an inner light. They spoke in a deep, reverberating tongue that gradually shifted into something understandable. If you stand before this knowledge, you are among the few who have braved the path of truth. The team exchanged wary glances. The images changed, showing the monsters, in their true history, not as destroyers, but as sentinels. They were bioengineered guardians, created by an ancient civilization to protect something of immeasurable importance. These protectors were forged to guard the last remnants of wisdom left behind. To ensure only those who seek knowledge with pure intent may enter. Dr. Chen's breath hitched. They're not predators, they're caretakers. Carter scoffed. Tell that to the planets they wiped out. Another hologram appeared, this time, showing a war. Entire fleets of alien ships descending upon worlds, trying to claim what lay within these ruins. The Sentinels emerged, crushing the invaders, ensuring that no unworthy hands would claim the secrets within. Elias exhaled. They weren't wiping out civilizations. They were preventing power-hungry empires from exploiting this knowledge. The final image showed the artifact pulsing in response to the human presence. Then, the message delivered its final, chilling words. The choice now lies with you. Will you honor the burden of wisdom, or repeat the mistakes of those before? The artifact pulsed again, waiting. Elias turned to his team, his voice firm. We need to decide. Do we take this knowledge for ourselves, or leave it in the hands of its guardians? The creatures outside remained still. Watching. Waiting. And the artifact shimmered in anticipation. The artifact pulsed again, casting shifting shadows across the chamber. It was waiting. Elias stepped closer, heart pounding. If this is some kind of test, we need to be careful. Dr. Chen's voice was barely a whisper. What if we fail? Carter, ever the skeptic, shook his head. Or what if we just walk away? Maybe that's the test, knowing when to leave something alone. But something in the air told them otherwise. The Sentinels, the so-called Galactic Monsters, remained motionless outside, their glowing fissures pulsing in rhythm with the artifact. They weren't attacking. They weren't threatening. They were watching. Elias exhaled sharply. We came all this way. We need to know. Before anyone could object, he reached out and touched the artifact. The vision. A brilliant wave of energy surged outward, and suddenly, reality fractured. Elias gasped as his vision blurred. The chamber dissolved, replaced by an infinite void filled with swirling galaxies, ancient ruins, and remnants of forgotten civilizations. He was no longer himself, he was seeing through their eyes. The ancients. The ones who had built this place. Towering beings of radiant energy worked in harmony, constructing vast cities, harnessing power beyond comprehension. But with great knowledge came those who sought to steal it. He saw the war unfold. Empires rising and falling, their greed consuming them. Fleets clashing in the dark void, civilizations crumbling under the weight of their own ambitions. And then, the monsters. Not monsters at all, but warriors. Guardians, built from the most indestructible materials in the universe, given one purpose, to protect the knowledge of the ancients. He saw them repelling wave after wave of invaders. Entire star systems were sacrificed, wiped clean to prevent dangerous technology from falling into the wrong hands. Elias' breath hitched. The galactic civilizations feared the Sentinels because they only saw the destruction, not the reason behind it. The last part of the vision showed something chilling. A final warning. A massive, unseen force loomed at the edges of known space. A devourer of civilizations. Something even the ancients feared. The knowledge here was not just powerful, it was a weapon against an incoming doom. The choice. Elias staggered backward, gasping for air as he snapped back into reality. The artifact still pulsed, waiting. Carter caught him. What the hell just happened? Elias barely found his voice. It's not just knowledge. It's a warning. A key to something bigger. Dr. Chen's face was pale. You mean, the ancients didn't just build these sentinels to protect knowledge? They were preparing for something? Elias nodded. Something that's still out there. Silence hung between them. Then, the hologram shimmered one last time, delivering its final words. The burden of knowledge is now yours. Choose wisely. The artifact pulsed again, waiting for their decision. Take it? Or leave it? Outside, the sentinels remained still. Watching. Waiting. Elias stood frozen, his mind racing. The artifact pulsed in his hands, its glow syncing with his rapid heartbeat. Around him, the team exchanged uneasy glances. Carter broke the silence. So, what happens if we take it? Dr. Chen hesitated. And what happens if we don't? The sentinels outside remained eerily motionless. Their molten eyes burned like dying stars, watching without interference. It was clear, the choice was entirely in human hands. Elias looked back at the artifact. The weight of the decision pressed down on him. This wasn't just about knowledge anymore. The vision had shown something far worse, an ancient, looming threat beyond the reaches of known space. The knowledge here wasn't just a prize. It was a weapon. But were they ready for it? A fateful decision. We should leave it, Carter insisted. This thing has been here for thousands of years. If it's that dangerous, why risk unleashing something we don't understand? Dr. Chen frowned. And what if the real danger is ignoring it? The ancients left this for someone to find. What if we're the only ones who can stop what's coming? Elias exhaled, staring at the artifact as if expecting an answer. His instincts screamed that there was no right choice, only consequences. His fingers tightened around the glowing sphere. If we take it, we need to be prepared for whatever comes next. The moment the words left his lips, the chamber shifted. The walls trembled as luminous veins of energy ignited, racing up toward the vaulted ceiling. The artifact vibrated violently in Elias's hands, its glow intensifying until it was nearly blinding. And then, the sentinels moved. The Guardian awakens. A deep, resonant hum filled the air, vibrating through the very bones of the structure. The sentinels, once passive, now stirred to life. Their immense forms straightened, their molten cores pulsing with renewed energy. A single figure emerged from the darkness. It was unlike the others. Taller, sleeker, its form less jagged, more refined. Where the sentinels radiated raw power, this one exuded something else. Intelligence. A voice echoed, though its mouth never moved. The test begins. Elias barely had time to react before the gravity shifted. The floor cracked beneath them, energy spiraling around the chamber as the artifact lifted from his hands and hovered midair. Suddenly, the room was gone. The team found themselves standing in a vast cosmic void, stars swirling around them like an ocean of light. The Guardian stood before them, its molten core pulsing rhythmically, like the beat of an ancient heart. You seek the knowledge of the ancients, the voice intoned. But knowledge without wisdom is destruction. Power without purpose is ruin. Prove your worth. Elias took a hesitant step forward. How? The Guardian extended an obsidian hand. In an instant, three visions materialized in the void before them, each depicting a different future. The test of choice. First vision, humanity wielding the artifact's knowledge, advancing beyond imagination. Cities of pure energy, disease eradicated, space conquered. But at the heart of it, a war. Civilizations crumbling under the weight of their own power. The cost of unchecked ambition. Second vision, humanity rejecting the knowledge, choosing caution. The galaxy remains as it is, civilizations progressing at their own pace. No catastrophe, but no great leaps either. A stagnant existence, a slow decline. Third vision, the coming doom. A force beyond understanding, sweeping across the void. A devourer of civilizations. And at the center of it all, Earth. Alone. Unprepared. The Guardian's voice returned. One path leads to ruin. One to safety. One to stagnation. Choose wisely. Elias's hands clenched into fists. His mind reeled. Carter muttered, "No good options, huh?" Dr. Chen's face was unreadable. "It's a trick. None of these outcomes are guaranteed." The Guardian tilted its head, as if amused. "Correct. The future is not written. But your choices now shape what is to come." Elias knew what this was. The real test wasn't about taking or leaving the artifact. It was about why. If they chose out of greed, they would fall. If they chose out of fear, they would be doomed. If they chose out of wisdom. Elias inhaled sharply, turning to his team. "We don't take the knowledge for power. We take it to protect. To prepare for what's coming, not to rule, but to survive." The Guardian watched him closely. The void around them trembled. "Then prove it." The final test had begun. The moment Elias spoke, the void shifted. The three visions dissolved into spirals of glowing energy, merging into the Guardian's molten core. The air grew heavy, thick with an unseen force pressing against the team's bodies. "Your words hold truth, but words alone are not enough." The Guardian's voice resonated through the void. "You must prove your conviction. The test begins now." The stars around them flickered, and suddenly, the team was no longer in the chamber. They stood on what looked like a massive battlefield, a ruined world covered in the wreckage of long-forgotten wars. Towering remains of alien structures jutted from the cracked earth, their jagged edges silhouetted against a storm-choked sky. Lightning flashed, revealing figures in the distance. They weren't alone. The trial of survival. Carter drew his weapon instinctively. "Oh, I really don't like this." Dr. Chen scanned the surroundings, her voice tense. "We're not in a simulation anymore, are we?" Elias didn't answer. He could feel it, the cold wind, the grit of dust against his skin. This was real. Somehow, the Guardian had placed them into a physical space, an environment that felt as tangible as Earth itself. Then, the figures in the distance began to move. Dark, shifting shapes, their forms twisted and incomplete, like something half-erased from existence. Their eyes, if they had any, glowed with an eerie, void-like energy. The Guardian's voice returned. "These are the remnants of a civilization that failed. They sought knowledge, but they did not temper it with wisdom. They embraced power, but rejected restraint. Now, they are nothing but echoes, trapped between existence and oblivion." Elias's pulse quickened. The creatures were getting closer. Their movements were unnatural, flickering in and out of reality, distorting as they approached. Face them. Show that humanity has learned what others could not. The battle begins. A piercing howl ripped through the air as the first of the wraith-like creatures lunged. Elias barely had time to react before a clawed hand slashed toward him. He dodged, feeling the sheer cold of the thing as it passed within inches of his skin. Carter opened fire. His pulse rifle sent bursts of energy into the creature's chest, only for the shots to pass straight through it, dispersing harmlessly. "They're not solid," he shouted. "What are we supposed to do?" Dr. Chen grabbed Elias's arm. "Think. If this is a test, there has to be a way to pass." Elias's mind raced. If brute force wasn't working, what was the answer? What had the Guardian said? They embraced power but rejected restraint. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. "Stop fighting," he shouted. Carter barely dodged another attack. "Are you insane?" Elias ignored him. He took a step forward, raising his empty hands. The creatures hesitated, their movements becoming less erratic. "We're not here to take power," Elias said, his voice steady. "We're not here to repeat the mistakes of the past." The creatures slowed, their flickering forms stabilizing. The void-like energy in their eyes began to dim. Elias took another step forward. "We don't seek knowledge to conquer. We seek it to protect. To preserve." The howling wind eased. The ruins around them seemed less broken. As if the very fabric of this place was responding to their choice. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. "Elias, it's working." The Guardian's voice echoed once more. "Then you have learned what the others could not. The path forward." The battlefield dissolved, the ruins vanishing into light. The team found themselves back in the ancient chamber, standing before the Guardian once more. The artifact still hovered in the air, its glow pulsing gently. Elias looked up. "What now?" The Guardian extended its hand, and the artifact slowly descended into Elias's grasp. "You have proven yourselves worthy. The knowledge of the ancients is yours." The sentinels around the chamber knelt, their molten cores dimming in reverence. "Take what you have learned and shape the future. But remember, knowledge is not a weapon, nor a prize. It is a responsibility." Elias tightened his grip on the artifact, feeling the weight of it. Not just physically, but morally. This wasn't just a discovery. It was a burden. The Guardian's form began to fade, its energy dispersing like stardust. "Go now. And do not forget." With that, the chamber's doors opened once more, revealing the path home. The test was over. But their real challenge had only just begun.